The first step to reviving your heart is preparing your heart for revival. Examine your heart and bring awareness to what may need to change. The most important part of a life transformation is a change of heart. A change of heart requires a change in attitude that affects behaviors. Lasting change happens from the inside out. A change of heart begins with preparing your heart for change, taking an honest look at the condition of your heart. Is your heart filled with less than desirable attributes these days? Has it gotten a little hardened over the years? What do you believe about God, and why do you believe it? Why do you do what you do, and why do you do what you don't want to do? I love this quote by the UCLA men's basketball coach, John Wooden. He says, "Failing to prepare is preparing to fail." The first step is to begin with cleaning out old attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs that hold you back. Making room for God's plan and purpose to grow. Removing anything that would block His voice or deny His presence with you. Allowing you to feel His small voice, that intuition in your heart, in your spirit, or your soul. To make room for the peaceful and purposeful life you were created for. Every good foundation starts with working the soil. As an avid gardener, I've learned this lesson the hard way. The beautiful flowers and bushes that I've planted on Saturday will be brown and withered by Tuesday if I haven't taken the time or made the effort to prepare the soil, to create a good foundation and a good environment for them to flourish. Sifting out all the rocks and the trash and adding fertilizer to encourage new growth. From a spiritual perspective, working the soil of our hearts looks like this: saying goodbye to anger, pride, and unforgiveness. Releasing the guilt, regret, and shame left behind by our sin. And then adding the spiritual fertilizer, adding God's Word, spiritual habits, and community. Have you ever noticed that you're able to withstand a lot more when you're at your best? Just like a sailboat that has a very large keel below the surface, it's important to have strong roots that'll keep you balanced and upright during rough times. Growing in your understanding of who God is and His plan for you will develop strong roots and an unshakable faith, so you're grounded in the storms of life. One of the more popular stories in the Bible is the parable of the sower in Matthew 13:18 through 23. The ground represents the condition of our heart, and the plant is our faith. Which type of soil best describes your heart in this season? I've found that our soil can change in different seasons of life. We can get to a place of fertile ground, but then we may become complacent in good times or distracted when life gets busy, and inadvertently allow weeds of doubt and fear to creep in and weaken our faith. How's your spiritual soil? Like the rocky ground, joyful in spirit but fleeting in faith? Or overgrown with weeds, faith strangled by life's distractions and riches, worries, or fear? Or fertile ground, faith with a solid foundation that's not swayed with the storms of life? The fruit you produce, your thoughts and your actions, reveal the condition of your heart. Outside circumstances, the people around you, don't cause your negative emotions. They only reveal what's on the inside. Have you ever noticed multiple people can comment to you about a certain subject, but then that one certain person can say the same thing on a certain day that really sets you off? Something about that person or the mood you're in that day really pushes your buttons. Your reaction comes from the inside, what's in your heart. Studying God's promises and understanding His character will cultivate fertile ground. The more you spend time in His Word, learning more about the depths of His love and His design for living in peace, the more your heart will become softened and you will be able to respond in love. The seeds of knowledge, who God is and who you are, along with the seeds of love, will produce good and desirable attitudes and behaviors. As you grow in knowledge and love, you are filled with the Spirit of God's grace, the fruit of the Spirit. When you align your thoughts and actions with God's Spirit, you produce or respond in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Galatians 5:22 tells us this. A heart filled with God's Spirit is no room for baggage that blocks you from experiencing peace and living out your purpose. The fruit or the result of His Spirit in your heart replaces self-focused attitudes and feelings of unworthiness or guilt or shame that can hold you down. When you have love and joy in your heart, you have more empathy, patience, and grace for others. Not by your own effort, trying your best to love unconditionally, be patient and kind, or maintain self-control, but as a result of partnering with God's Spirit. Not by your best human effort, but as a result of allowing Christ's love to flow through you. Actively studying God's Word and seeking to grow in a greater understanding of His character produces wisdom, faith, and strength beyond our own ability. Studying His Word helps us remember His promises and apply them to the storms in our lives. It gives us strength for today and hope for tomorrow. But to bear fruit and flourish in your potential, you must allow for a little pruning along the way. Don't be discouraged or lose faith, but give yourself grace in the process and believe all things, even the distractions and setbacks, will be redeemed for good in God's perfect plan. With a solid foundation of faith, you can remain steadfast and faithful, trusting that God is working for your good even during the pruning. Romans 8:28 says it this way, and we know that God works all things out for our good and His glory. Let's take a look at our Prepare Your Heart takeaways. Number 1, the most important part of a life transformation is a change of heart. Number 2, your heart can be changed with the power of God's Spirit within you. Number 3, cultivate a pure heart with fertile ground, weeding out the baggage that block your blessings and sowing in spiritual fruit so you flourish. And finally, number 4, be faithful in the pruning, believing all things work together for your good and God's purpose.